Hi, Alexandar. Thank you for
Hi.
joining us right after work.
No worries.
So like Carlos said, my name is Emily. I'll be moderating or guiding our conversation today. We work for a company called Egg Strategy, which is a third-party research vendor that GMAT is using to really understand the candidate perspective, your perspective on the test, business school, a whole range of things. So we'll dive into a lot of your opinions today. And as a third-party research vendor, obviously there are no right or wrong answers. We just want kind of your honest take on things.
Sure.
Just so you know, this
How honest do you want it?
very honest.
All right, very honest.
Yes. I want your true take. Don't sugarcoat it at all.
All right. That's fine. Where are you based? Are you based in the US or?
Yes. So I am currently in Denver, Colorado.
All right.
And Carlos is in our Chicago office.
Okay.
So we're kind of a bit spread, but just so you know, before I dive into, I just want to let you know that this conversation is being recorded. This is just for record-keeping purposes. I'll take some notes during our interviews, but this is primarily so we don't have to kind of be jotting notes the entire time that we're speaking. So to begin, I'd love to understand a little bit more about you. So if you could introduce yourself with your name, your current job, and where you're currently living.
All right. So my name is Alexandar Davits. I'm 28 years old. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm Dutch. And I currently work at a real estate investment firm called Davits. Lately, this summer, we also acquired Westfield, which is a known brand in the US, I guess, in terms of shopping malls. I've been working there for 1.5 years now. It's my second job. And I work as an operational manager in this firm.
Okay.
So basically, my job is to create value in the assets that we develop and that we operate.
Mm-hmm.
In the broader sense of the word.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And where are you now in kind of your graduate school application process?
Right. So I applied to 2 business schools, and I got admitted in one. So that's very nice. So basically, I'm finishing up on the job, which I hope to do in August, and then I'll be starting in September.
Great. Okay, great. So we'll kind of dive into all the different facets of that application and where you're going a little bit later. But to begin, I do want to understand even deeper about who you are and some of kind of your overall life and career aspirations. So what would you say matters most to you right now?
In terms of
life? What are you valuing most? Like what is driving your time every day?
Getting somewhere. Like I really feel that like I'm evolving my life around that central like value. Basically, I would love to like make some career and like get into a job that has an impact on the things the things I do. I can impact, which is valued both like financially and in terms of I don't know. Status, maybe a bit even. Just something better than what I'm doing now.
When you think,
I think it makes me happy. So that's
yeah. Having more impact, maybe having your opinion be more valued, those kinds of things. Great. So when you think about 5 years out from now, where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing?
Something more meaningful, I would say.
Sure.
I don't know. I think that I would really want to, at some stage in my life, want to be responsible for the strategy, like business, decisions concerning the strategy of a company, or a group, or organization. So basically, to be ultimately responsible for the decision where to go left or right, and also then to like how you call this, like bear the rewards that come to that, or be responsible for the failure of it. Anyway, so I can see what is the result or the impact, so to say, of my own actions.
Okay. And are there specific roles or industries that you're thinking
No,
about?
I think like these kind of responsibilities, they are generally with the general management of a firm. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the question is whether I would reach that in 5 years, because like I can also imagine that you need a lot of practice, you need a lot of like experience, you need to somehow be exposed to these kind of questions that require more of a multidisciplinary approach for some before you can actually like fulfill and thrive in such a role. So
Yeah.
I don't have a clear goal of I want to be in this position, this company, but in general that's where I want to be. And to be fair, it also like there are certain sectors that I think, oh, this is very interesting. There are certain sectors that I think, oh, this is not so interesting. But to be fair, I also don't really care. If the world decided now that in the next 20 years, like we're gonna tenfold the amount of pink plastic bins that people would use, I would jump into that market.
Okay. So it's more kind of the responsibilities that you'll have versus the specific role or industry.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you think about graduate education, how do you think that will help you achieve that goal? Whether you mentioned needing to gain experience or exposure, what role is graduate education going to play in getting you to where you want to be in 5 years?
All right. So I started my career as a lawyer, so I have a legal background, and I worked in like a very good law firm for 3 years. A nice job. I got paid very well. But in the end, I just felt I was I was at the table, but just not at the place where I wanted to be, because the processes I worked for, they made the Financial Times the next day. It was very like impactful, very high impact, high value cases.
Yeah.
There were all kinds of people involved. For example, we helped a chemicals company divest one of its business units. So there were the banks asking, okay, can we pay for this, blah, blah, blah. There were the PR people saying, okay, how should we spin this? The media. There were the HR people, of the consultancy people saying, okay, what should it look like, blah, blah, blah. And then there were the legal people that said, okay, should we like do it like left way around, right way around? And then it was me saying like, okay, I'm actually gonna do it. But basically only one interesting question, and that is like, should we do this or not? The rest is all like, how do you call this? What's the word in English? Like when your TV like goes like black and white like this, it's like kind of snowy screen, like
background noise.
Background noise. That's the exact word. Like the rest is all just. So that's why I said, okay, I need more background in. Even if I work my ass off for the next 10 years, I won't get there where this guy is. So that's why when I thought, okay, I need more background in business and I need more of a multidisciplinary understanding of things. So the first step was for me to switch to business side, which I did after I started to work in an investment firm. So I left legal altogether, cut 15K off my salary, and then
big jump.
Yeah, big jump. Like it wasn't really fun.
Yeah.
I joined operations, and I learned a lot. But, to be fair, I feel that also in this field, I will be a specialist in 10 years in running shopping, of which I don't really care, to be fair.
That's fair.
So basically I figured out I need more baggage. I need a more like holistic understanding of running business before I'm even ready to like make the jumps I want to make. Because right now, like for example, right, I'm in operations, and like a field that's very close to mine is investments. It's like they're responsible for selling actually the whole asset as a whole, and there are financial models involved, which I really try to understand and really try to master, but it's not in scope of responsibility. Even though, from a company perspective, this is very important for me to understand, at least for someone to understand it. But like, I would like to be the one that gets the general picture. So I figured that I need more education. I need more background, and to be fair, I need more credibility. So this is also very important to me, because if I master these techniques, or even if I master these valuations, like the fact that the fact that I consider myself a smart cookie, like is not, it doesn't cut it anymore. Like,
right.
I need both the knowledge, and I need the credibility of having this knowledge, aka the paper.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned that you kind of you came to the understanding that this was something that you needed to do. Is there anything that caused you to decide that like now is the right time to make that change?
Well, to be fair, I like going to like a postgraduate business school is not something I dreamt of from the age of 18 or so. I just figured that like right now things are moving like in not the right direction, or maybe not the exact direction, and also too slowly. So I want to change this. Then I looked into the ways, how can I change this? And without like making like an extra step down again, because like I'm done with that. Like I'm not gonna start from rock bottom again. And then
you've been there, done that.
Yeah, 2 times, which is like 1 times too many.
Yeah.
The answer to that was to do an MBA, actually, because it allows me to like also like make a step up. So how did I decide that this was the right moment? Well, from the moment that I realized, actually, like I put things into motion, because I think in terms of concepts, going to graduate school and doing MBA is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like you're together with a group of people that, first of all, decides that like they're at the age of 29, 28, 30, maybe something like that. So it's like the age that most people, maybe you as well, like you have your first serious, between brackets, financial responsibilities. Like you bought a house, you bought a dog, you bought a wife, or like you got a wife, I don't know, like anything like this.
A wife.
Like something like that. And then you're gonna tell your family or so, or you're gonna walk away from all of this, saying, okay, guys, daddy's gonna be away for 2 years. Oh, by the way, actually, I'm also gonna earn €0. Oh, and by the way, does someone have like 100 grand lying around, because I also need money. In terms of concept, it doesn't make sense. So
right.
This is something I would do now, but I think in 2-3 years, no way. I'm not going for that, because it's a huge investment, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's also like I grew up like well off, I must say, but not that well off that I could say like, okay, I'm gonna like shit around for the next 3 years and see how that lands. Like I need to make my own. I need to take responsibility for my own actions, also from a financial point of view. I need to do it now. Like there's no other option. Otherwise,
okay.
I would. Also, if I wouldn't have gotten in this year, I would have said like, okay, fine.
Would you have reapplied, or would you have just been like,
no.
All right, no, I gotta take a different path?
No. Also, and then like no.
Okay.
Done something else.
So when you think about business school specifically, it's a huge investment. It's a huge time investment, money investment. What do you think you'll learn in business school, or what do you think you'll do in business school that will help you achieve your goals?
All right. So basically, like the knowledge is one, right? So to actually gain the skills, like get a general overview, or like of like what is marketing, what is HR management. Like now, I just do these, like I make decisions in this field, but I just do it from a gut feeling, which really cannot be yet.
Right.
So that's something that I really hope to learn. Apart from that, also like the credibility question. So basically, if like 18 months, 2 years at a certain institution, you get the paper and like you can like wave it in someone's face saying like, hey, hire me. I'm actually like, I can do this really well for this job. So that's the second, which is not something that you will learn, but kind of like a space what you do. Question. And the third of all is like, I hope to get a network, because also I think in general, like the population at these schools is biased, because they like, for me, it was really important to apply to schools that were ranked really well worldwide. People who meet there, they were set up for success anyway. Like if they wouldn't have gotten into this business school, probably they would have made it anyway. So I think this is a very fruitful group of people to spend some time with, and that would help you later in life.
And what we've heard about the value of a network in an MBA or business school from a lot of people. So what do you think, if you were to kind of probe further, what do you think what fruit will be born from these relationships, right? You said it might be fruitful. Like what value do you think that network might actually provide
you people from North America, you never know this. Like in Europe, these things work different. Like nepotism is still big here. It's like you need to know the right.
It's definitely big in America. Okay.
You think?
Yeah.
All right. Nah, I'm just joking. But
yeah.
Like throughout my life, I've always experienced that. Like, okay, so if you just pay attention, the right moment, hang around, the right people, this will pay off. How it will pay off, like there's really no predicting, but you never know. But you that I don't know, like if you decide not to hang around in the local junkyard with the junkies of town, but instead try to hang around at the local golf club or so, like this has a higher chance to actually pay off.
Is that like a saying?
What?
If you hang around in the junkyard versus the golf club?
I don't know. I was never there in the junkyard.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like it's something you've kind of grown up with, this idea that who you know can provide value in the short and long term. Okay. And tell me more about, you mentioned that because of the network, you were really looking at these higher ranked schools. So you can tell me a little bit more about that and like why that's valuable.
Well, like of course the selection, like it's like having a tough selection procedure is an obstacle, right, for anyone trying to get in. On the other hand, it's also a benefit for the people that are actually in, because someone else did the hard work for you already. Like someone else figured out, okay, so if we put these people together in a classroom, this might provide for a very interesting cocktail of opinions, backgrounds, visions, which is also something obviously to be exposed to it and to be able to look at things from like different professional perspectives, cultural perspectives, geographical biases even. Was that the answer to the question? What was the question again?
Yeah. And that kind of range of perspectives, that like cocktail of people, is that important to you, having kind of people from different backgrounds in your experience?
Yeah, because like also like to be fair, yes, because also in my work so far, I've always worked in international teams, and I've always worked with people like different locations, different backgrounds. So this is something I particularly enjoy.
Okay. So at a high level, walk me through, I know you've already applied to 2 schools. So walk me through the steps you took in the application process.
What do you mean? Oh, all right.
What did you do to apply to the schools? What were kind of all the things you did?
Okay. So basically, I think your question is like focusing on like at what stage of the process I committed myself to this GMAT test. No? That's what you want to know?
Well, we'll kind of dive into the GMAT later. I actually want to understand, like, did you put together a list of schools, and how did you do that? Did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so let's start there. So how did you put together your list of schools? What criteria were you looking at?
Okay, so I figured out that like what I want to get from business school is something that I would only get if I apply to something that's also like recognized internationally. Being like a place where it's very useful for you to go. Also, I think that the ROI on your investment is pretty important. So these schools, if you look at the figures at least, which I really find hard to believe, but apparently like this is really how it goes. These schools, they will provide for such a ROI, which will also justify my investment in the school.
And are those like salary figures? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, among others. Yeah. I mean, like in the end, employment is very important. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify what figures you were referring to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And then like I would say, okay, so this list of schools, I would shortlist against like some things that are very important to me. For example, I really value that there's, for example, focus on like doing business in an ethical way, to entrepreneurship, also personal circumstances, saying, okay, actually I want to take my girlfriend with me as well, so which place would not be like too crazy for her. Like to me, it doesn't really matter, but for her, like it needs to be sort of like acceptable. For example, INSEAD like is also one of the top 3 European schools, but France is very French. Like that's France is more French than the Netherlands is Dutch. The Netherlands is Dutch. It would be very hard for her to actually find a job, settle in. So this one was off the list because of that. Then also I compared like US schools with European schools, and especially the fact that I like being not being away from the job market for too long, because like this costs money. So that's very important. And also I have serious doubts about the future role of the US in the world economic play. Doubts. I have like a vision about this. There was also one very, like talking about this, it was one very interesting school in Beijing in China as well, which I would really like to. This is something that I think, okay, so the investment is very low, fair enough. The ROI is kind of unknown because it's not been tested before, this thing.
Right.
But in terms of like, how you call this, like, you know, how interesting it was really something that really appealed to me. But so that one was off the list, unfortunately, as well.
Why?
Because like there are too many uncertain factors there. Too many like complications in getting there. Yeah. So in the end, I also I learned from my prior experience. After I finished my law studies, I wanted to do my LLM in the US at like Ivy League school. I made a short list as well, 5 schools I think I wanted to apply to, and I finished my application to Harvard. And it took me 2 weeks full time. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do this like times 5, like just not.
Yeah.
So in the end, I came up with a very like short list of either like IESE in Barcelona or LBS in London. That I thought, okay, these are good schools to apply to. I have, it's just the top you can get in Europe, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's okay. I shortlisted the schools. Then I thought, okay, so what do I need for all of this? And I prioritized based on like what I supposed would take me the most time. Being GMAT first, because it's a fucking shit. And then like some other obligatory things that like the terms were out of my hands. For example, like TOEFL, or you don't know when you get results, and I had to wait. And then the essays, which I had to write for both applications second, which I would just do in one run. References before, because also I was dependent on some other people. Okay, so then I made sure that I would be able to reach the application deadline. Of course, I postponed, then I was stressed. It's always the same thing.
Procrastination.
Yes, procrastination. And then I reviewed all my materials just the day before the deadline, and I handed in all the things. So that was how it went in a nutshell.
Okay, great. So let's dive into the GMAT. Actually, before we do that, if there was one thing that you could change about the application process as a whole, what would you change?
To be fair, I would make it less extensive. Make it like personal sooner. So being like, do you really need 4 essays, 2 video messages, 3 references, like basically all the recruitment things that you can think of, they're included in this process. Like, do you really?
Yeah.
Yes, I really believe that like they yes, they do all provide for a piece of the puzzle, but I think as an admissions officer, you should ask yourself, okay, so how relevant is this specific piece of the puzzle? For example, for London, I had to record 2 video messages of a minute each, answering a question that, like, why did you apply to London Business School? Yeah, like you know, like you damn asked me this question like 3 times in the application forms, 2 times in the essays, and in the interview you did it as well.
Yeah.
Like, was it really necessary for me to record this thing on video? And you get like, I don't know how many applicants they have, maybe like 3,000 or so, and you need to like listen and view 3,000 minutes of people telling them why they want to go to London. Like, this is like insane. Also, I think, for example, that the interview, like the actual, be it via Skype or personal, like this is a very important part of the process. So I would really like emphasis on that, like put more emphasis on that, put less emphasis on that on the other side. Save the applicants a lot of time and would provide you with the relevant info that you need instead of like just like the background noise.
Right. And that's kind of related to, you said, make it personal sooner. So you would maybe like to like move the interview up in the process and get rid of some of those other personal elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So let's
like,
dive.
Yeah. Skip certain steps. Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive into the GMAT. I know you've kind of alluded to your feelings a couple of times, so
no,
hear
like,
your honest opinion. No, really, truly.
No, but like at the time it was a bit stressful. But after like in hindsight, like, it was not too bad. I kept it.
Yeah, of course. It's always how it works. Yeah. So at a high level, what's the word on the street about this test? What are people talking about? What do people say about the GMAT?
What do people say about the GMAT? That that's a hard test, basically.
Did you hear that before you took the test?
I actually don't have a lot of people in my network that actually took the GMAT. There were some people. There was like 1 or 2 people that actually took it. So I kind of went in with an open mind there.
How did you decide to take the GMAT?
Well, it was necessary. Like, it was a requirement for the application.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
Did you have the option of GMAT or GRE?
Yeah, I never heard of the GRE, and I also don't know anyone who did the GRE.
Okay.
To this very day, I don't know what's the difference. I don't know what the GRE test is anyway. I don't know even what I have no clue.
Okay, so GMAT was like the test that you knew, had some knowledge about versus the GRE. And did you mention you took the TOEFL as well?
Yes.
And had to submit TOEFL scores? So you had to take those 2 tests. Okay.
Basically, I did my high school was in English completely, and so I'm exempted for the TOEFL. But like, getting the exemption is actually more work for me than just like sitting the TOEFL. So I figured this was worth the $250 to me.
Okay, so you just took the TOEFL because you knew you were gonna be fine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's easier than like working with these international baccalaureate people. So.
Okay. So how did you prepare for the GMAT? What did you do to prepare for it?
Okay, so there's a lot of ways to prepare for the GMAT. I basically like studied online a bit. So how do other people prepare? Then figured out what would be suitable for me. In my current role, especially in January, February, I had a lot of time. In December and January, I had a lot of time at my work. So what I did, I bought the official books. Later, I would also buy the Manhattan Guide, something, I don't know, like that. But I then again, like I told you, I know 2 people in my network that actually took the GMAT. So I didn't know. I just took I bought the books, the set of 3 books. And then I started to read, okay, what is expected of me? How does it work? Like, how are the questions formulated? What are they actually testing? How is the time pressure? And so on and so on. So basically I started like making practice questions, focusing especially on part, because this is something that is challenging to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like after working 3 years as a lawyer, the verbal part was like, kind of okay.
Yeah.
But I have no exact sciences background, so
Mm-hmm.
so this is something I need to. This I put emphasis on. Also, analytical writing was, to be fair, was like kind of a piece of cake. So I practiced a lot of math questions. I felt the need to like step up my game. So I took a week off, went to the library, studied everything again, used the online account to make test questions, to time myself, and so on and so on and so on. And then I think I sat down the test maybe 1.5 times before I actually made it. Very long, and my concentration span is quite short. So like this wasn't for me. And then I sat down the test and I made it once.
Okay. So like, did you sit, when you said the 1.5 times before you actually took the test, was that like you sat down for a full practice test or something?
Yeah, I would say one time. And one time I tried, but failed halfway.
Yeah. For the whole length of the test, you like sat down and made yourself. Okay. And went through a couple times before you got to the end of that time. Got it. Okay. What would you say is the benefit of the GMAT to you?
Benefit to me? I don't see benefit to me. Like I guess I made it because it's a benefit to the school I'm applying to. But to me, like that, to me, the benefit was that I could feel like a student again for a week and sit in the library.
Okay.
Cool, but like for the rest, I don't see any benefit to me. Like,
what about?
Yeah.
So you said it was a benefit to the school. What do you
like
think
you
the
test
benefit
stuff,
to the
right? You
school
don't learn stuff. Like it's.
Tell me more about that. You test stuff, you don't learn stuff.
Okay, so basically, I believe, in my opinion, the GMAT test is designed to like sort of like standardize a certain level of analytical capabilities of the test. So also, like if you make the test, for example, if you use the test and the test pushes back to your level, right? It's not that you get like a certain like, I don't know, like handiness in making these things. Like it's always hard. Like whatever you're doing, it's always hard. 4 hours is hard. The thing pushes back, which is a great way to test it, but not to learn it. Also, like judging what you would learn from this test. For example, for me, like algebra or something like this was something I didn't do for a long time. So I really had to refresh my knowledge about it. But I didn't do it for a long time because I don't use it. So I don't know if I really value the things I learned from like practicing this test. Like how do you call verbal, comprehensive reasoning and reading is something that I knew already how to do, and that's how I thrived on this like subject in the test. It's not that I studied for the test and I learned how to do it. I think that's how this thing works. Also, you can really question yourself if you want to learn something. Is this what you want? Maybe like throw a baseball or so. Like this is like more useful like life skill.
Okay. So it sounds like the content of what you studied didn't feel super valuable to you.
No.
I
would say.
How about some of the?
I mean, it's like really like short conclusion. To be fair, like it's very not nuanced to put it like that. But it's basically like if you write this down and if this is the conclusion of the conversation, it's basically like this high school student saying like, yeah, why would I like in what life situation would the John have 5 lemons and sell 3 of them? Like this is not happening. Like that's also not how it works. Yeah. Okay. And anyway, I think the right conclusion is I didn't take this test to actually learn these things. That's.
So then why did you take the test?
Because it was required for my application.
Okay. So what did it help you accomplish? if it was required for your application. Like,
it helped me to get into the business school I was applying to.
Okay. So how about any of the skills or anything that you developed while studying or preparing for the test? You talked about practicing like time management and sitting through tests, some of the critical reading skills. Did any of those feel valuable to you in either preparing for business school or something later on?
Oh, no. The preparation to business school was quite valuable, especially for me, the like self-reflecting on like, how do I formulate what I actually want from life? And like that kind of thing. That was very useful in some way. Also, it's nice to be confronted with your own progression in things like time management or motivation or perseverance, like something like that, which definitely the GMAT, preparing for the GMAT test, like evidenced. But then again, same thing. Like, I think if you're gonna take the GMAT test because you want to learn how to manage your time and you want to learn how to be perseverant and you want to learn how to do algebra or mathematical skills, or you want to learn how to do comprehensive reading, like you're just like too late in life to do this, because I don't think you take the test to actually learn these things. I think the test is to test, so to say, what you've learned so far in that respect. Maybe my preparation also, because like what I heard was that some people, they spend like months preparing for this, and I simply didn't have that liberty to do so, you know.
Right.
I was scrambling it in the time I had for this, which was like a month of like half-assed preparation, a week of studying, and then to take it to get back to work.
Yeah.
Maybe that has to do with it as well. That might be. I mean, like, to be fair, like if you put months into this thing in preparing for it, and the conclusion is that you didn't learn anything from it, it's also kind of a waste of time, right?
And you said something really interesting that I'm not sure we've heard in interviews before, that it's not something, kind of even the skills, the perseverance, the time management, it's not something you can actually learn in the process for studying the test, maybe if you have more time, but it's something that's already potentially in you that you're just kind of reinforcing.
I feel that's also part of what they want to test. They don't want to know like how good you are in algebra, so like who cares? It's about like analytical skills, like about concentration, about time management, about these things. That's also things that they test between the lines. So yeah, sure.
Do you feel like, having taken the test and kind of looking back on what your score was and things like that, that the test accurately captures your own abilities?
No.
Why not?
Yes, to some extent. Completely. Because also, like, anything, like becoming an expert in anything takes time. And I believe that the GMAT is a test that if you put more practice into it and put more effort and time into learning it, you will get better at the test taking. Because how it's like kind of a crooked conclusion, but taking tests in general, like your mark or your grade for any test, is evidence of how well you're able to take the test, right? I think that is more accurate than the conclusion saying that this grade reflects your knowledge on the subject that is tested. It's something else. Like you went to university, right? So you had like, I don't know, like what did you study?
I did an interdisciplinary program in peace and conflict studies.
Say again.
I did an interdisciplinary program in peace and conflict studies.
Okay, conflict studies. So if you would take a test, conflicts, or like whatever, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
It would test your knowledge of conflicts as well as your ability to take tests, whether it's an oral test.
Right.
Like if you want to do well on an oral test, you should know how to take an oral test. If you want to do well on a written test, you should know well how you do a written test. the knowledge about the subject is just one of the factors that in the end determine. So if you ask me, does the GMAT reflect your abilities that they test? I would say kind of. Do I believe it's the best way to standardize it and to like give like some reflection on the candidate's capabilities? I would say yes, like it's the best way. I principally don't think that like taking tests is solely about the subject that is tested. Maybe it sounds a bit vague, but maybe you get it.
I think that makes sense, and it sounds like, as you were kind of alluding to, that this is true of any test one could take, whether it's an oral examination on your final dissertation or whether it's a standardized assessment like the GMAT. That the knowledge of the subject matter is one component, but then knowledge of test-taking strategy seems to be kind of the other thing that you're alluding to. Is that accurate or fair? Yeah. And that's just certainly something that we've heard from a lot of other folks as well, that kind of test-taking strategy is really key to success, potentially.
Also in that respect, I also think that, for example, your background that one has before taking the GMAT certainly helps in this GMAT. Like, for example, when I started as a lawyer, I was working in M&A. And analytics were like strong analytical skills are important in any job, but in some job to a more extent than like other jobs. For example, in generally speaking, if you're an engineer, you need to design something, then you need stronger analytical skills than when you're a lawyer. You need other skills. And this is why like I feel that the GMAT is a very good way to test it. I think to say it is a standardized way of testing candidates, it just goes too far. As an admissions officer, that's luckily what they do, at least what they told me. They take into account like what background you have and they match it against the score that you reach. So if you would say, okay, GMAT reflects analytical capabilities, then does it say something about the candidate's analytical capabilities? Yes. Does it say something about the candidate's capabilities? Kind of.
And it sounds like that context of like your background or what you're coming into the test with can be really important.
Yes, I think so.
So if you could waive the test, would you?
No.
Why not?
Also, I think they shouldn't give the option. Because like reviewing thousands of candidates for a certain position or in a certain way, you need to have like some sort of like how do you call this? Like some sort of skill to balance them all on. How otherwise can you compare some guy that worked in business development in Google with someone that trains dolphins in Jamaica? Like there's just no way if you will be able to waive the test.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be a standard. Like, and from my own perspective, but I'm talking from like the perspective of like admissions and recruiting and selecting in general.
So in theory, there needs to be a standard. Yeah.
Would I waive it? No, because I don't know. Maybe I would waive it. I think the answer is that it shouldn't be possible to waive it. Like it's just bad.
Just for anyone. Period. Full stop.
Period.
Okay.
That's it.
And why does there have to be a standard at these schools, or at least to the schools that you're applying to? Why is a standard important? Yeah.
Okay, so we just established that like the GMAT tests analytical abilities, right? I also said like they're not important in all fields to the maximum extent, but I'm not saying they're not important. I think they're very important. So I think that analytical capabilities, they kind of assess a candidate's chance of success in completing subjects that are like at the schools that are based on like the possession of these capabilities, on these skills. So yeah, I think it's a good way for schools to actually like to select candidates, to make selection.
If you got to business school and found out that one of your peers had the test waived, how would you feel about that?
I wouldn't feel good about it. I would that, to be fair, because like first of all, like in terms of fairness, it's not right. No, I think that would really undermine my like confidence in the selection process. I mean, like,
why?
Because I believe that like in the same situations, people should be judged on the same standards, and the fact that they're objective, it's even better, to be fair.
And would you say
like
that
there are certain situations where it would be obvious that people would test for sure, but if they're not, then I don't see why you would have a case-by-case approach.
And would you say that the GMAT is an objective measure? Regardless of what it measures, does it feel like an objective measure to you?
Yes, very much. Very much.
Okay. Makes sense.
I mean,
great.
Like,
so for the,
like all of the different categories of things that are tested, verbal, quant, like, yeah, to be fair, like with the exception of the writing assessment, I think it's very effective. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So we only have about 13 minutes left, and I do have to run kind of right at the hour. And then this next part of our conversation, I have 4 different ideas that we're going to kind of speed through. These are ideas about how the GMAT could potentially talk about themselves in the future. So they're kind of high-level marketing ideas. They're not advertisements. They're not taglines.
Okay, I will say yes or no. We'll be done on time.
I'd like a little bit more reaction than just yes or no, but that'll be helpful as well. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. I'll read the idea, and then I'll ask you some follow-up questions, but we'll kind of speed through these.
Sure.
So this first idea, can you see what's on the screen? Great. So this first idea is idea S. This one reads, discover your strengths. For those seeking what's next, GMAT is the test that helps you discover your strengths, because only the GMAT is co-developed with business schools using the science of data to identify your unique strengths and skills. What's your reaction? Your face is funny.
I don't like any of them, to be fair.
You don't like any of it. Okay, so tell me why you don't like any of it.
Discover your strengths. If I would use the like I would like to discover my strengths, and I would do so I would like to discover them in a very relaxing and pleasant way. Which not one of them. If I'm gonna use the GMAT to discover my strengths, like why am I even there? Like I want to know these things before I take the GMAT. Those seeking what's next. For those seeking what's like, why would they be seeking? Why wouldn't they know what's next? Like they take this thing because they know what's next already, right? So they're not seeking anymore, to be fair. You know, I cannot think of anyone that would take the GMAT and then say, okay, so, and now, what are we going to do now with my life? Maybe I'm going to, like, no, like, it's part of, like a journey, you know?
Okay. And then how about that last line? Only the GMAT is co-developed with business schools using the science of data. So I don't care. I don't
care about this. I just need to take this GMAT. Okay. So, like, even if like designed with like dolphins in a pool jumping through like colorful hoops to like this test, I still wouldn't care. Okay.
And does this idea feel believable for the GMAT?
No.
Why not? No.
Co-develop a bit. Like, why? To co-develop something with business schools. Like, what's wrong with like people making tests? anyway. You guys, you
So
designed
that
it.
doesn't feel interesting to you, that
No.
that business schools work with the GMAT to develop the test. Okay. We might come back to some of that language. So
Okay.
I'm going to move on to the next idea.
Sure.
So this next idea is idea P. This one reads, unleash your potential. For those who want to take charge of their future, GMAT is the test that helps you unleash your potential. Because only the GMAT is used 90% of the time in new MBA enrollments, giving you the power to achieve the next level of success. What's your reaction to this idea?
Did you make this? Like if you said like if you're gonna say that you made this, actually, I will be much kinder.
Don't be kind. I want your honest reaction.
Oh shit. Okay. I should be more like nuanced about this.
No. It doesn't matter who made it. I'm not going to tell you whether or not I made it. I really just want your honest
why won't you tell me this? I think you should tell me.
Why?
Because I'm asking.
You're not. Even if I did make it, you're not hurting my feelings.
Yeah, that's what you say. But like at the hour, you're gonna like sit behind the curtain and cry for the next day.
I don't think that's what's gonna happen.
Okay, I'm just joking. Okay, unleash. No, like I don't think your potential is unleashed by the GMAT. To be fair.
Why not?
Because if you make the GMAT, how could that in any way unleash potential? Because like the only idea that I think that like makes sense, saying that the GMAT is used 90% of the time in new MBA enrollments, period. Like that makes sense to me. Saying that like you should take the GMAT because it is a standardized way of testing stuff. Everyone accepts the values. Like it's very credible. The test is valued by test takers and by the ones actually using the results, saying like MBA educations or like whatever educations that people will enroll in after GMAT. I don't say giving you the power to achieve the next level of success. This doesn't appeal to me, but like the first part of it, like I think that makes a lot of sense.
That use 90% of the time in new MBA enrollment.
Right.
Like, because that feels relevant to me.
Compare GMAT to GRE. Why would you choose either one? Like this for me or this for anyone would be a reason to choose GMAT instead of GRE, right? So I think that's very good.
Okay. And then how about that first line, want to take charge of their future? Does that feel relevant to you?
No.
What do you feel like you're doing with your future by going to business school or by taking the GMAT? If it's not taking charge of your future, like how are you kind of embracing these next steps? What are you doing right now in terms of your future?
I think people should be like taking charge of their future. Like, don't get me wrong. I think like this is a good thing, but I wouldn't see how taking the GMAT would be an essential part of this.
Okay, that makes sense.
For example, what if you would want to be a professional badminton player? You see this, it's like, I want to be a professional badminton player, but I also really want to take charge of my future. Should I maybe do GMAT? I would say like, nah. I think it's like it's a good phrase, but it just doesn't like apply there.
And it doesn't feel like it applies to you more specifically.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay. The next idea is idea B. So this idea reads, beyond boundaries. For those who are driven to greatness, GMAT is a test that lives beyond boundaries because only the GMAT is co-created with business schools and influenced by businesses around the world. So you have an expert guide with you wherever you want to go. What's your reaction to this idea?
How do I have an expert guide to me wherever I go? With the GMAT.
Do you feel like the GMAT is delivering that right now? No. Why not?
Boring candidate ever. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. No, this is exactly the kinds of reactions I want. It helps make the ideas stronger. So you don't feel like the GMAT right now feels like an expert guide. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And why is that? What is your experience with the GMAT or the GMAC?
How can the GMAT be an expert guide? Like if I want to prove that like I have analytical capabilities and I'm a smart cookie in general, I would list my GMAT score saying like I really believe this is like a good standardized test, don't get me wrong, and I believe it's like also has the credibility to act as such. But an expert in guide in anything, just like I don't know, like an expert guide in business, for example, can I say, yeah, you know, like you should hire me, I'm an expert in business because I got the 650 on my GMAT. Like no, I don't believe that if you succeed in like if you do well in the GMAT test, this makes you an expert in anything apart from taking the GMAT test.
Do you feel like the GMAT is an expert in anything?
Maybe GMAT. That's it.
The GMAT is an expert at the GMAT.
Yes.
Okay. And what about that line?
Or testing, or so, like testing, standardized testing, like for sure, like they're expert in that. I believe that.
Okay. So what about that line, influenced by businesses around the world? So businesses around the world are working with the GMAT to make a relevant test. Is that interesting to you? Does that feel relevant to you in your career goals?
Yeah, I would say that like that's an okay thought.
Why?
Because like apparently they needed to have something tested. They needed something tested, and GMAT provides for it. Better that like GMAT needs to have something tested, and GMAT provides for it, because basically I'm using GMAT to get somewhere, right? I'm not taking it for like to unleash my potential, to develop my skills, whatever. I do it because I need to do it to get there, in business. So basically, if if I could choose to do all sports, but I want to work with you, right? That's my goal. I want to be your colleague. And people tell me, Emily really likes volleyball. I would do volleyball to achieve that goal. So that makes sense.
Okay, and you mentioned actually in relation to this idea that maybe it felt a little silly to you to put your GMAT score on like a work application or on your CV or something like that. Would you ever consider using that if a business asked for it? Is that something you would ever include on a CV or a job application?
I would for sure consider it.
Okay. And do you feel like it would capture something about you as a candidate?
Yes, like these analytical capabilities. For example, if you have a strong background in quantitative science, econometry, like quantum physics, I don't know, like people are not going to doubt your analytical capabilities. They're most likely going to doubt other stuff like interpersonal skills or like, I don't know, something like that. Considering I'm from a background that does not really appreciate or need a lot of analytical capabilities, if I would need to prove them and to be credible, I would for sure like use my GMAT score for that.
Okay. Great. So I'm going to just speed through this last idea. We only have a couple minutes left. So this last idea is idea G. This one reads, grit that persists.
What's a grit?
What's grit? The idea of like the value in working hard, essentially. Like what you gain through perseverance or discipline.
Okay.
For those ready to take on the next challenge, GMAT is the test that shows what you're capable of, because only GMAT helps you build the skills you need to be successful in business school and beyond.
Right. So like we discussed this one already, actually, because the last part, like GMAT helping you build skills, like I really don't believe in this.
What if that last line read, because only GMAT helps you demonstrate the skills you need to be successful? Would that change the meaning or how resonant it feels to you?
Yeah, that would be a lot better.
Okay. And why is that?
What did we say? Because only GMAT demonstrates the skills that you need. Because that's actually what it does.
And then that first line, ready to take on the next challenge, does that feel relevant to you?
I would say is like the best idea I've had out of these four.
This one. Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that?
I think that the third line is a bit far-fetched. Also, maybe I can't be very negative about the first line because I unfortunately my level of English is not it's not sufficient to actually like get what it says.
That's okay.
But yeah, I think that the third line is a bit far-fetched. Like I like to, I don't know, to say that the GMAT is a test that shows what you're capable of. Like it's sort of like makes the connection with the thought that like if you don't do well on this thing, like it shows that you're not capable of anything, which is I think there's more to a person or more to an application, sort of say, than just the GMAT score. And this is also something that is like a message that is sent out by business schools worldwide. So I wouldn't, no, I think this is like crossing that message a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Contradiction.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us at the end of your work day and sharing your honest opinions about your journey, your aspirations, kind of your reactions.
Thank you. I hope I didn't criticize your hard work too much.
Not at all. Not at all. The point of showing these ideas to you and to candidates is to get your reactions and make them better and understand where they're failing. So that's exactly what we're hoping to do. So
all right, great.
Really appreciate your honesty and your opinion today.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time as well. It was been
of course.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and have a great night.
One question. There was also some compensation involved. How do I reclaim this?
Yes, so the recruiters who were in contact with you to schedule the interview will be following up. You'll likely get a check in the mail.
Great. Amazing.
And it might take 1 to 2 weeks to process everything, but it will be sent to you.
Sure, I'm not in a rush.
Okay, perfect. Thank you
very much, Emily.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.